Diddy's lawsuits filed by Tony Buzbee are not being dropped. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation going around about Tony Buzbee that he was just disbarred from New York and that he's possibly going to lose all of the cases that he filed against Diddy in the New York Southern District. Crazy enough, all of this also might explain why the lawsuit against Jay Z and Diddy was dismissed with prejudice. And a lot of reason this misinformation was going around is all because Tony Buzbee's petition to be admitted to the Southern District of New York was just denied by a judge. And a lot of the media ran with this and tried saying, oh, Tony Buzbee's disbarred. All of these Diddy cases are no longer going to continue to move forward. But they were going a little bit too far with this. In the same motion, the judge says, in the event that Mr. Busby moves for pro hac vice or regular admission in the court in the future, he must attach a copy of this order to his motion or petition. Just for a little bit of understanding, pro hac vice means that it allows an out-of-state lawyer to practice law in the jurisdiction where they are not licensed to practice law. And just so you know, Tony Buzbee was able to practice law in New York State and the Eastern District of New York, but he basically wasn't registered for the Southern District of New York. Now, of course, Tony Buzbee wasted no time and he did file for pro hac vice, which at first was denied because he didn't submit it with a wet signature. And this is literally nothing. Basically, he just electronically submitted his signature, but a wet signature needed to be a handwritten signature made with a pen or another marking on the physical document itself. A lot of the media was just going crazy about this. They were spreading lies saying that Tony Buzbee was totally disbarred from filing cases in New York City. And they were like, all of these Diddy cases are going to be dropped. This is horrible. Well, that's not the case because the motion for Tony Buzbee to serve under pro hac vice has been granted by the judge. Now, this case against Diddy will be able to move forward in the Southern District of New York. All Tony Buzbee had to do was do a physical signature on this pro hac vice admission paper. Tony Buzbee will have to go ahead and do all of these individually in the Southern District of New York, but you can assume they're probably going to be accepted by the judges just like this one was. Now I'm going to tell you the very interesting part on how this ties back to the Jay Z and Diddy case. In the list of sanctions that Jay Z and Alex Spiro wanted on Tony Buzbee, they are the ones that said that Tony Buzbee was not even admitted to the Southern District of New York. During this time, Tony Buzbee told the judge that he was admitted to practice in the Eastern District of New York and he intended to apply for the Southern District of New York, but she gave him the February 14th, 2025 deadline. The day that Tony Buzbee dropped this Jane Doe lawsuit against Jay Z and Diddy was the same day that he was ordered to show proof of admission to the Southern District of New York. Keep an eye on this date. This judge said this on January 28th of 2025. Not even a week later is when Jay Z and Alex Spiro would say that they wanted to drop the sanctions against Tony Buzbee after talking to the plaintiff's counsel, which would be Tony Buzbee, who consented to the submission and agrees to the withdrawal without prejudice. Basically saying Tony Buzbee agreed for them to remove the sanctions against him. Which to me makes no sense why Alex Spiro and Jay Z would have dropped these sanctions against Tony Buzbee. Because if Tony Buzbee was not permitted to practice law, this is something that he could have been sanctioned for. This is what has me even more confused because Jay Z is the one that said that this lawyer gets to walk away without repercussions and the system has failed. But if you knew that Tony Buzbee was not even able to practice law in the Southern District of New York, he could have tried to get these sanctions on Tony Buzbee. But instead, he randomly withdrew them. And he admitted that he talked to Tony Buzbee about this. And then not even a week later, Tony Buzbee drops this whole lawsuit against Jay Z and Diddy with prejudice, meaning it can never be brought up. Instead of trying to move forward like he's doing with all of these other cases against Diddy, pro hac vice. To me, in my opinion, the only thing that makes sense, it sounds like there was a conversation. We will drop trying to go after you for sanctions because we know we got you. If you drop this lawsuit with prejudice, that way it can never be brought up again. Now, I could be wrong. This is only my guess, but this is absolutely the only thing in the world that makes sense about this. For you to drop sanctions on somebody that you knew, you're the one that brought this up. Jay Z and his lawyers are the one that brought this up about Tony Buzbee and basically put it into the air and let it be known. And this is why now Tony Buzbee is having to address this. But if you knew this and you were going after him for sanctions, why in the world would you stop it? You were saying that this man brought on false stories about you on purpose and he slandered your name and all of this, and you said that you're going to go after him, but you stopped doing exactly what you said you were going to do, and you had it in the bag, honestly. The only lawsuit out of all 30 lawsuits that Tony Buzbee has filed, he drops without prejudice against you and Diddy. I don't know, there's still a lot more coming out about this, but it doesn't look like Diddy's necessarily off the hook like what the media is trying to portray. But you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.